Good morning, everybody. In the continuous seminary, you are in chapter 1, paragraph 15. Something very powerful is over here. Shammai says, make your Torah study a fixed project. People need to know the Torah is like the water for the Jewish person. A person always needs to come and make time to learn Torah, okay? And the Torah says, you have to learn Torah in the morning. In the evening, the person needs to find time minimum to once in the morning and once in the evening to learn Torah, okay? Say little and do much. So, very powerful thing the Torah says that a Jewish way to look at Hashem is that person is an action person. What in an action person they do? Action. It doesn't say things, I'll do, it doesn't do nothing. Because the Torah says, Kol motzah sfatecha tishmor. Everything you take out for your mouth, you need to keep it. It's not good a person promise thing, they cannot do it. It's better not promise nothing. All the time the Torah says when you want to do something, say bli neder. When bli neder, no promise. That means what means no promise? That you ought to try your best. But a person, the Jewish way to look life is that person needs to be a person of acting and not a person of speaking. That means the person always tries to act. He doesn't talk too much. Opposite. He talk a little and make much and doesn't take all the credit for himself. That means if you make many good deeds today, Ricky, you don't say, everybody know me. Today I make this. No. What you do is between you and God. What you do is between you and God. And people need to know that you need to be a person of action because only Hashem really can know what's inside of the heart of a person. The Torah tells a beautiful story about Yosle the Mice. You know, the times of in Poland, different than America, Jewish people was tremendously poor. But every city they have a rich man. And this city, I think was the city of Krakow, I don't remember the city was everybody poor, but one Jew, he was a very, very wealthy man. And this Jew was the biggest stingy person in the world. What means? He never give money to nobody. So people knock at the door, say, Yosele, please, I don't have a wife, I don't have this, help me. Say, how much money you need amount? He says, such and such. No, it's too much money, go out from here. And he was throwing out everybody and never give a penny to nobody. This Yosele became old and became sick. And came the Haber to him and tell them, Yosele, you're going to die already. You have so much money. Why don't share your money for other people? So let's take you now, give to us like $10,000, put you in the best place to bury in the best place in the cemetery, and you're going to have the best place, and also the poor people are going to be able to have a good place to survive. Have food for survive. Say, how much? $10,000. I don't give $10. Say, Yosele, you're not going to pay. You're not going to bear. Say, I owe my life. I get along by myself. Also now, I'm going to bury myself. I don't need you. And this is what it says, Shema Israel. And he passed away. People are so angry with him. A person have so much money, doesn't give for nobody. Past 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, they make a decree. Nobody is going to bury him. And the wife stayed there with the dead body. Came the neighbor in the middle of the night, took his body, threw in the wagon, put in the corner of there, and bury him. Friday's coming, a person knock. The rabbi's door say, Rabbi, yes, I need money for Shabbat. I don't understand, you're not working. I don't work for 20 years. How you survive? I don't know. Every week, somebody put an envelope under my door. One person came, 2 people, 5 people, 10 people, 20 people. The people realized that who was the person that put the envelopes? Yosele, the stingy guy. And they come and they start to cry, say, Yosele, I curse you, I throw stones at you, and you feed me for many years. Was so commoted, people were so commoted that Sunday the rabbi made a fast. He make a fast and say, was in the end of the fast, said, people, if I don't receive a signal from the heaven, the Yosel is going to forgive us, he don't leave the place. He faint out the rabbi. When he faint out the rabbi, he wake up, say, good news. What happened? I went to the heaven and I saw Yosele. Say, Yosele, how are you? How are you feeling? Say, very good. I'm together, Abraham, Yitzchak, Jacob, all the holy people. You forgive us. You forgive us. He says, should I forgive you? Should I forgive you? Then he told them, how are you feeling? Say, I feel the best. But one thing is I'm missing in this life. Here, I don't have the envelopes to give with the poor people. And this is the power of the person, because the Torah tells us the highest level of charity is matan beseter. What I mean matan beseter? That you give charity without people doing it. You're an action person, you give, give, and nobody knows about. Who knows? Only you and Hashem. You need to receive every person with a smile. This is a very powerful thing. King Solomon says, I prefer to stay in the house. They give me bread and water with peace. They have a full house of machloket and fights. It's very important. People need to receive somebody else with a smile. This is anything, everything. Charity, to say good morning. I have a powerful story. There was a rabbi in Europe, and this rabbi would always say good morning and was smiling for everybody, every person. Then the Nazi came, and the officer saw him and making like this to him to go to work and survive. The officer tell you, remember me? He said, no, I was coming to you many times, and you always have a smile to me. And you always have a nice word to me. And this nice words to him, say the most powerful story is about Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin was born in Dnipropetrovsk. It's the city of the Lubavitch Rep was there. And he was a neighbor with a rabbi. He was a very poor kid. All the time the rabbi invites him and feed him. He also have a teacher. And this teacher, all the time also, she was invited to the house and feed him. And he put in this diary that I never can forget the kindness of the Jewish people made for me when I was a poor boy. That he came to Israel and he came to visit this lady and say, this is your house? And no, I'm renting. And he bought a house for her. And maybe this person today is the second person most powerful in the world. If he was mistreated by the Jewish people, maybe he was today the new Hitler. But because he has gratitude that the Jewish people came and the Jewish people feed him and help him, he became good to the Jews. This you learn that what's the powerful to receive people with a smile. Also charity. Sometimes you go to charity, guy look for charity for you. It's people, tremendous poverty. You know, here's an example. A third of the kids live in poverty. The poverty over there, many people don't have for Shabbat. It's very, very sad. These people coming from Israel, from other places that need. Last week I was here in the thing, I saw a guy and he escaped from me. Then I took the car, I gave back the car and gave charity for the guy again. Because it's a very beautiful thing. Because charity, the Torah says, Tetzraka, Tatzir, Mimavet. The charity saves a person from death. Put food don't save for death, keep Shabbat okay for death, eat kosher don't save for death. What saves for death? Charity, tzedakah. And I want to tell a story, a powerful story to you to understand the power of tzedakah. The Gemara tells about a person. Also, he make decrees. The Gemara tells there was once a person that want to see the justice of Hashem, a big tzaddik, and say they calls Eliyahu Navi, Elijah the prophet, to teach him and to show him the justice of God. Just say, come with me, but you're not allowed to say a word. You go over there, they knock on the door. The guy says over there, yes, welcome. Say, you're very hungry, have nothing to eat. You can feed us and give a place to sleep. The only thing these people have was a cow. They give milk. They go over there and they feed them and they have some poor beds and they sleep in the floor and put in the poor beds. Then, in the middle of the night, Eliyahu come, pray, and the cow dies. The guy says, you come to show the justice of God? This is the biggest injustice I saw in my life. How you can do that person have only the cow to survive, and the person feed you, give his place to sleep, and you have the cruelty to go and to kill her cow, say, see how I don't know the justice of Hashem? Tonight she was supposed to die, the lady. And because she gave charity for us, I took her money and didn't took her life. This is one of the biggest concepts also that Torah tells us, kapara avonot. Sometimes a person have a loss in something material because Hashem want to take something bigger for him, and Hashem have mercy for him, and I take your money and I don't touch your children. And that's what Morocco also says, right? Rookie, take my money, don't touch my children. And that's all the time. People never know really what is the story of his life. Why it happened to him? Why a person born poor, other people born rich, other people limps, no live. One person like Baba Sali, he was limp the leg, say, Baba Sali, cure me. Say, if I cure you, you're not going to have long life. Say, why? Because each person in this life have a tikkun, it has a mission in this life. And sometimes the Torah says, Isurim mechaprim. The pain that you have, this make you forgive. Nobody have pain for nothing. So that's the pain you have. You limp is to forgive something bad in my life. If I don't take you out, this pain, you're going to have maybe a worse pain. Once a person came to my Rabbi said, Rabbi, I want to divorce my wife. I don't say, you divorce your wife, he says, you're going to have headaches. Say, what's the connection? Because every person needs to, every person needs to suffer, and this is your suffering. And the greatest to know that you need to receive your suffering with love. It's powerful. You need to receive your suffering with love. No, that's Hashem give it to me. I receive it with love. I'm not complaining, nothing. I was now in the house last week of a very rich guy. He lives in Berel Haber, in the village over there. And the guy have many kids, and his last kid is autistic. But he received them with the same love for other children. You know, Hashem sending him to me is a mission. I need to treat me, I need to grow him. And that's my mission, he received with love. And this is the powerful. The person needs to receive everything Hashem give it to him in love. Who will learn this for Yosef Atzadik? When Yosef Atzadik didn't want to have affair with a married woman, her husband put in the jail. He going to the jail, he gets sad. He was going to the jail happy. So how can be happy going to the jail? Say, if Hashem wants me to be in the jail, I'm going to serve Hashem in my best way over here in the jail. I mean, every place Hashem put you, you need to serve Him. If you're rich, if you're poor, if you're smart, if you're not so smart, if you have sickness, no sickness, everything Hashem give it to you, you need to live happy. Let's continue. Number 16. Rabbi Gamliel היה אומר, Rabbi Gamliel says, עשה לחלב, that's powerful thing. A person must need to have a rabbi that can guide him to serve Hashem. Why? Because the Torah tells us, עשה לחלב ותסתלק מן הספקות. When a person have a rabbi, he doesn't have more doubts. Because you go to a rabbi, allowed to do this, allowed to do that, and the rabbi tell you what's right and what's wrong. That's very powerful. That each person has to have one rabbi, not 20 rabbis, and this rabbi is going to ask him, and forever the rabbi tell you to do, you do it. It doesn't matter if you like or don't like, because we know when the rabbi says something, he doesn't say from his mind, he's saying because he learned the Torah, he wants to teach you for you the willing of God, the willing of Hashem. It's very powerful that each person have a rabbi, you consult with your rabbi, anything here, okay? And there's also something very powerful here. When a person have a rabbi, he needs to go and avoid to get any confusion in your life. I mean, when you don't know something, call your rabbi and ask him to guidance. This is a very powerful thing. You ask for guidance, a rabbi, to show you the way to serve Hashem. והתרבה לעשר עמדות, it will say, also, don't give excess tithes and estimate instead of measuring. To say something part of him that I understand, the person when I give the 10%, don't have to give 10% exactly. It will give a little bit more because maybe sometimes it doesn't make the right cheshbon, the right account, and it gives less than thing. Because the Torah tells you, let's say today you make $10,000, you have an example, expense $7,000, invest you $3,000. For $3,000 to give 10%, $300 to charity. Say don't give $300, give 300, 10, 20, a little bit more, because maybe your account, your calculation was exactly, and it can happen that you don't give 10%. Once a person came to the rabbi, had many trouble in his life, a very millionaire guy, and the rabbi say, well, you have your trouble because you don't give 10%. When you give 10%, he has so much money that even if you give a lot, it was not 10%. It's very important that people have to be thinking. Interesting that in the Jewish community, the most successful Jews are the Syrian Jews from Syria. Why? Because it's always very serious about to give the 10%. They make some money, they open a foundation, and they give money, give food for the people, for the poor people, for the rabbis, for everybody. It's very important to give charity, because when you give, don't give only 10%, give a little bit more, because sometimes you don't make the right calculation, and you can, God forbid, to give less than you're supposed to give. Let's continue. Rabbi Shimon ben Omer, Shimon his son says, all my life I was grown by the scholars, by the Chachamim. I didn't find from my body something that is better than silence. That means when you have a person that is greater than you in smart and everything, don't interrupt all the time. You can ask your questions and then listen and try to absorb what they give it to you. Okay? It's not many people they're learning, but when it coming to action, it doesn't have any action. What it means? There's only a speaker. It doesn't put in the action. And this word the Torah tells us is Olam Asiyah, the word of action. What I mean a word of action? The person is not only enough to go and speak, he needs also to act, to make mitzvot. Mitzvot come from Lashon Tzavta, that's being unified. When a person makes a mitzvah, he's unified himself with God. This is the powerful thing. The person needs to unify himself with the God, okay? He say, and every person that only speaks, it brings a sin, because it only speaks, it doesn't make any action, it doesn't make any change in the world. Rabbi Aaron said also that many people listen to him many tapes and they don't change. Why? Because to change, you need something called koach haratzon, the power of willing to will. If you're not going to will, you never can change. You need to have willing to change. Example, a person wants to pray with the minyan in the morning. So sometimes they harass you, no, don't pray in the house. So you just need to get up and say, I'm going to pray. And the Torah says something powerful, they call chazaka. What means chazaka? When you do something 3 times consecutive, it became part of your nature. That means the person needs to know that when a person is doing mitzvot, after 2-3 times, already became part of your day and day. And this is very powerful, that if you want to really to grow, you have to have 2 things. You need to have the power of will, and also the power of do it many days. Now we come in Pesach and have a powerful story about our Levis and Bardichev. That year, the Levis and Bardichev had the most complete seder with all the kavanot, with everything. And he has a vision that in the city was a Jew, that the Seder of Pesach of the Jew was more accepted from God than his own Seder. So he said, how it can be? If I do everything good. And who was? It was Moshe, the water carrier. The guy was called Moshe, say, Moshe, how are you? Tell me the biggest mitzvah you make this person. Say, no, Rabbi, I tell you. I'm a very, very poor man. And come Pesach, everybody have matzot and eggs and meat. And I don't have nothing. And I have so much frustrated that what I do, I drink before Pesach and I sleep all Pesach and get up after finish the first day of Pesach, because I cannot see the pain of my children that every house have matzot and egg. I don't have nothing. And this year I was about to drink and my son started to cry. Say, I know you're crying, my son, because I am poor. I don't have what to say. No, Father, I didn't cry for this. I cry because every house, a child have a father, he can ask and say, my son, please say Manishtana, and I don't have a father because my father is a drunk man. And these words came so deep inside of the heart of the guy, the father. He took the bottle and said, not only I'm not going to drink now, I'm not going to drink never, ever again in my life. He threw out the bottle. And this breaking of this bad inclination, this bad habit he has to drink, was so powerful in the eyes of God. That was received by God even more than tzaddik. Why? Because to break a bad inclination is not very powerful. Gaon Vina says that it's easy to learn all the Talmud by heart than change a bad attitude. Example, person is angry. I know a person really, any word you say, you get angry, can hit you this. And this guy worked 10 years in his life. Today you can curse him, he doesn't get angry. Why? Why? Because he works in himself to change this bad character. And the Baal Shem Tov says that a person have a chance to come to this world to change the bad character. If he doesn't change, to go back again and again and again and again. That's the reason the Torah tells us that in this world you have neshamot cannot have older souls, because you have souls that are coming many, many times in this life because they're not able to fix his tikkun, his soul correction. What's the soul correction of the person? Torah tells us is the hardest thing. Is for your example, the hardest thing is to be honest. You need to work yourself to be honest. If the hardest thing for you is to be kind, you need to work yourself to be kind. I want to finish a powerful story to see about reincarnation. You see how the bad things you made in your other life can influence you in this life. Once came a person to the Holy Baal Shem Tov, say, Rabbi, I don't know what to do. I have no wife, no kids, no money. Everything I touch became dust. I have no luck at all. Why? Why? I don't understand why. I say, Baal Shem Tov closed his eyes, the Holy Tzaddik said, go to that city and look for that person. He goes to the city, look for the person. Say, you know this person? No. You know this person? No. I don't know him. You know? No. Say, no, go to the oldest man of the city. You go to the oldest man of the city. Say, you know this person? Say, yeah. This guy passed 50 years ago. He was the worst human being ever passed in the city. He was a liar, a thief, a drunk. He hit people. The day that he passed away was the happiest day in the city. You go back to Baal Shem Tov. I don't understand Baal Shem Tov. First sent to another city, nobody knows the guy. After I find an old man, the old man tell me that was a guy 50 years old, was the worst person in the city. What's the connection to me? Say the connection that this was you in the other life.
But you don't have tshuva?
So they tell you, say, what I have to do? Baal Shem Tov said, because you make bad for other people, your tikkun, your soul correction is to make good for other people. If you go to be able to make good for other people and help people, not any interest, any time and any second, you're going to be able to fix it, the bad thing you make now the time, and to have a better life. And that was the soul correction to change. He was a cruel person, had to be a mercy person. He was a person that cheats, now he's an honest person. He was a person that is a liar, now he never say lies. You need to change it. And this is the work of the person. Each
and
person.
then he do tshuva.
He show you that, but Hashem
And
is
then
showing.
when somebody make tshuva, God accept this.
If you make tshuva, you bother his heart, yeah.
Yes.
And Hashem accept it and change his life.
And then God he need give you child working because he make tshuva.
Correct. Let's read one more to finish this chapter. Number 18. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Mishnah says, "Ashlosha dvarim ha'olam kaim." For three things the world is standing. Aladin, from the justice, okay? That means that if people don't have a justice, everybody can kill each other. And that's the problem. People don't like to live in South America. Why? Because South America, a guy go kill one guy, two guy, five guy, 10 guy, 20, nobody stop him. So people don't want to live in a place like that. Here you kill one guy, contemporary guy go search after you. I know a guy that do something bad here. They went to Brazil, catch him in Brazil. It's not a joke of you. You can't do for everyone here. So Allah justice, Allah admit, that person needs to be honest. That means if you can go a place that everybody's coming and say lies all the time. You cannot live, you never can trust nobody. Why you never can trust nobody? Because each person, they never say truth. And also, they place peace. The Torah says for us, that person needs to come and pray for the peace of the country. Shalom Medina. Why? Because the Torah tells us when you're having war, good and bad people die also. Also innocent people die. When they come the angel of death, he kills everybody. And a person needs to all the time come and knows that he needs to pray for the peace of the world. And one powerful thing that how people can really avoid to have tragic things in his life, when a people coming and trying to bring his brother close to God. This is very important. No, Ricky, you see a friend of yours, they're not religious, say, go to the Rabbi, Haber, go take this class, learn Torah. You need to come. Because the Torah says, Israel Arevim Zebazeh, each person is responsible for his brother. And that's the thing that the Torah tells us. They didn't have all the generation. That's good people's Spanish now. But you never make an effort to bring your brother close to God. And you need to make an effort to bring one. The Chofetz Chaim said to finish now. You came for the first joint of the Aguda, and the Aguda says over there, it's an obligation for each person to make the best he can to bring his brother close to God. So people say, no, for sure it's the Rabbi. He came back and said, no, it's not on the Rabbi. Don't finish the B'ezrat Hashem ladies, take this class and give to your friends, and B'ezrat Hashem could be successful, that you can bring many people close to Hashem. I'll see you next week in the chapter 2. Chazak Baruch, thank you very much. I call the Rabbi.
A quick Dvar Torah, just on this week's Parsha. Parsha Vayakal Bekude is about the actual construction of the Mishkan, Binyan HaMishkan. Mishkan was their tabernacle in the desert. Moshe Rabbeinu was told to put it up himself, right? So, but it was impossible. It was so large, so big, so heavy. He says, I don't know, I can't do it. Hashem says, just try. Moshe Rabbeinu started doing it, and then it was built on its own from Hashem. But why did Hashem tell Moshe to do it if he could not do it? It was too heavy for him. Because we have to learn a lesson. It doesn't matter if it's too heavy for you. All you need to do is make the effort. You have to try. In Hebrew we say the word hishtadlut. What does that mean? To attempt, to try. Do as much as you can, and the rest will come along. And it's especially about Shabbat. A lot of laws about Shabbat. Do as much as you can now, but don't say, oh, that's all I can do. No, that's all I can do today. There's always more tomorrow. I have to learn more, I have to understand more, and I'll be able to do more. First of all, if you like cake, you know what cake is?
You like cake?
You like cake? So always when you have a nice piece of cake, right, what's the first thing you think?
I have too much
you want to have more cake. When you keep Shabbat, right, eventually it makes you feel like I want to keep more of a Shabbat, I want to do more. because it's, wow, people tell me, I can't believe that we never kept Shabbat. Shabbat is such a wonderful, wonderful thing. Okay, this get-together, right, for the Rav, right, is not only for me to lecture and to speak, but if you have any questions from week to week or whatever, you can come to class and ask if you have anything, etc. So this week we're going to talk about, first begin and speak about the halachot, the laws. I'm just turning this off to make sure nothing rings in the middle, right? Okay, perfect. About Ezofan Mutar, when is it permitted to give work to a non-Jew, Laseit Kodem Shabbat Melacha Lagoy, Lahashil Haskir Lo Kelim, in order to lend or rent vessels to him on Friday. So here's like this. The basic halacha is like this. If something that I'm not allowed to do on Shabbat, I'm not allowed to give to a non-Jew to do. Everybody thinks, oh, there's something called a Shabbat Goy, right? Somebody who, he can do work for me. No. What I'm not allowed to do, he's not allowed to do. But there are certain things that he can help me with, and I could have him help me with on Shabbat itself, and I have to speak to him in a way where it's more like hinting to him. That's not what we're talking about now. We'll talk about that later. Now, what happens Erev Shabbat Friday? You want to give a non-Jew some work for you to do. Give your car to get fixed. Take your suit or dress to get dry cleaned. Or do something. So what are you allowed to do? Are you allowed to send a letter in the mail? Right? When you put a letter in the post in the mail, so what's going to happen? Even if it's a non-Jew, the non-Jewish mailman tomorrow going to take your letter and bring it to wherever it has to go, and all the people working. So you're like instructing the non-Jew to work for you. You're not allowed to do that on Shabbat. So what are you allowed to do? Okay. So here, first of all, like this. Of course, it is forbidden. Asur laniach lagoy l'shiasim melechet b'Yisrael b'Shabbat. It's forbidden to allow a non-Jew to do work for you on Shabbat. Right? There is a pasuk. V'chol melacha lo ye'oseh. What is ye'oseh? B'ivrit, ya'aseh means you should not do. Ye'oseh means it should not be done for you. Right? Not by a fellow Jew, but even by a non-Jew. Right? And therefore, if you give him something in Erev Shabbat, even though he does it, but if you give it to him before Shabbat, even though he does it on Shabbat, it is totally mutar, except for the cases, right? Situations. He needs to pick up from if it comes something from your house, he needs to come and pick it up before Shabbat. Normally we don't have people coming picking things up from our house, but imagine the old days where Jews lived in a small town, and they had non-Jewish neighbors and all that. So the neighbor is going to fix my pants or etc. or my dress, so he comes and picks it up for me and then takes it to his house. He can't do that on Shabbat. Okay? That's one thing. It has to be before Shabbat that he comes. Also, it's very important, and now let's say you go to his place of business, you could drop something off for him to do, fix, work, and he does the work whenever he wants. It's called in Aramaic, adaite de nafshe. When the non-Jew's doing work on Shabbat, he's doing work according to his own plan. You're not saying, I want the work done. That means Shabbat now starts at 7, 8 o'clock. You can't go at 6:30, go to the dry cleaners or to the tailor and say, I need this fixed, and I'm going to pick it up right after Shabbat.
But
why?
If the goy, he can't wait.
I'll explain why you cannot do that. Why? Because you are telling him, I want you to work for me on Shabbat. You're not allowed to hire a non-Jew to work for you on Shabbat. I'll explain. Good question. If I give it to him at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and yesh lo zman, he has time to fix it Friday afternoon, right? But he decides to do it Shabbat morning, the lo shali, lo baya, it's not my business. I'm not saying you have to do it. But I give it to him right before Shabbat. And I say I have to pick it up. I have a wedding to go to right after Shabbat. So the only time for him to do it is what? On Shabbat. He's not choosing to do it on Shabbat. I'm saying you have to do it for me on Shabbat. Ze asur. That is prohibited. Okay? Even Erev Shabbat. Okay? Same thing with the, sending a letter in the mail. I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago. If you're not in Israel, where maybe some of the postmen are Jewish, but let's say here where 99% of the people who deliver mail are non-Jews, you can put you could put a letter in the post office, right, in the mailbox or the post office, because they'll deliver whenever they deliver. You hope that they're going to actually do it on Shabbat, so you'll get there in time. But they're not doing it for you. They're doing it for 2 million other people. So therefore, that is also permitted. As long as the non-Jew has time to do it at his pace when he wants to do it, you are fine. That's one rule. It has to have time to do it before or after Shabbat. I give him my car. Let's say I drop off my car 6 o'clock before Shabbat. Take him a few hours to fix it. He can't fix it before Shabbat. But I tell him, I don't need it Motzoi Shabbat Saturday night. I need it next week, Monday, Tuesday. He can fix it Sunday. He can fix it whenever he wants. He does it Shabbat morning. That's fine. I'll give you one more example. And then there's another important rule about this. In Minnesota, I lived in Minnesota for many years. Okay, a wonderful place to live, but very cold. So buy lots of warm clothing if you ever move there. So there was a non-Jewish fellow who lived a half hour away, who was such a good mechanic fixing cars that the Jewish community would all knew about him for 20, 30 years. He'd come, he'd pick up your car, you leave the keys in the mailbox. Sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning, after he's finished other work, he would come in the middle of the night, take the keys where you tell him it is, pick up the car, take it with him, and then work on it, and then bring it back. Beautiful, right? That you're allowed to do, but you're not allowed to do that when he would come on Shabbat, because why? It's in front of your house. So everyone would know, and it's your car, so people will know, look, the non-Jew is coming on Shabbat to do work for you. He may not fix it till Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, but it looks like somebody is coming to do work for you on Shabbat, which is Asur. So 2 things we learned so far. You're not allowed to have somebody come to your house and people will see and think that you hired somebody to work for you on Shabbat. We'll talk in a minute about maybe a cleaning person or waiter or waitresses, that in a minute. And the second thing we learned was that if you are giving the non-Jew work to do, it needs to be given where he can do it whenever he wants to do it, and you're not forcing him to do it on Shabbat. He can do it before, he can do it on, he can do it, and whenever he does it in his place is fine. A third halacha, a third law is also very important, is sheyiktzot lagoy scharo. You should decide the wages, how much you're going to pay in advance. Okay? Because why? He's doing the work in order, bishvil atzmo sheyikabel scharo, for his own sake, in order to get paid. Therefore, if you have a non-Jew, servant, for a certain amount of time, you're not allowed to have them work on Shabbat. So let me give you an explanation. I have somebody come and clean my house. My wife would like if that was true, but it's not true. She and I have to clean the house. But at some times in my life we've had that, and many of us had somebody come to clean the house, right? So they come on Shabbat only, and I pay them a certain amount per hour, $10, $15, $20 per hour, okay? That is Asur. Why? Because they are working for me on Shabbat, and I'm paying them for Shabbat. Now what if I do like this? I say like this. This person comes 2 or 3 times a week, right? We're all proud of you. This person comes 2 or 3 times a week, and you know they're going to work 10 hours for the week, and you want to pay them $15 an hour, so you say to them, I'm going to pay you $150 for the week, right? So therefore they know, you make up, I want you to come 10 hours, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, Shabbat, right? And you make an accounting that they're probably going to work 10 hours. So therefore, I'm going to pay you $150. Why is that mutar? Because you're not paying for the work on Shabbat. You're paying for the whole week. It's all included in the whole week. What if you have a bar mitzvah on Shabbat, right? Simchat Kala, or we say Ofra, Mamrim beChatan, Shabbat Chatan. Okay, that's what you say. And you have family over, right? And you need somebody to be a waiter, to come and help serve, come and clean, whatever it might be. You can't pay them only, for sure you can't pay them on Shabbat, right? But you can't pay them only for the Zman, the time that they are working, with an accounting of the Zman. You have to somehow, and this is very detailed, and when it comes, if you want, you can speak to the Rabbi, see myself, how you can do that. You really need to have them do some work for you during the week. I'll explain it in a minute. Or make up that, you know what, I need a job done, there's a certain amount of money for a budget for the job, and that's what people are going to get paid, etc. Not pay them per hour. Because if you pay per hour, what they're doing is they're working on an accounting, a cheshbon, just working for you.
Rabbi, but it's not, I feel not correct, because if you bring now a waiter that it doesn't do any work that is prohibited in Shabbat, it just serve or just
right,
clean.
it's still Asur. If you're paying for the work for,
how do people make bar mitzvahs and they bring waiters in?
Okay, so there's this life. So the best way to do that, here's the Rabbi's asking the question. So I need a waiter. What am I going to do? So what you do is you can't make up directly with them. You make up with a caterer or somebody who has, let's say, who has staff they'll send, and you make up with them. I need somebody for this Saturday for Shabbat. I need them for 6 hours, and the company says this is what your charge is going to be. You're paying the company, and they're paying the actual worker. So the worker is getting paid by them. It's not directly by you. It's a problem with the babysitter as well. A Jewish babysitter, right, who comes to work on Shabbat afternoon for you. You can't pay for work that they do on Shabbat, right? Even if it's not malacha, if it's not something that's prohibited. It's a separate halakha. There's a law that they're not allowed to do actual fixing the car or work that is asur on Shabbat, and you're also not allowed to pay for work that's done on Shabbat. Okay?
If I'm walking and I see money in the street Shabbat, I can take it.
You know, the joke was like this. The joke was this. There's like $10 on the floor. This is from years ago. $10 on the floor. He says, they look at the $10, they, in Yiddish, Shabbat tahin, Shabbat taher, Shabbat here, figure the $10.
אני לא אקח אותו עם היד, עם הרגל.
עם הרגל. It's every shinui, right? No, so I'll tell you, what you can do. You can go find a non-Jew and say, here, look, there's money. If you pick it up, we'll split it, etc. Right?
That sounded so Jewish.
Right. All right.
One question.
Yes.
Before, I don't know if you were going to move to another subject. How it works with the elevators? I never understood that.
What?
There's something called a Shabbat elevator. What they do is, some people say you can use it, some people not. What they do is they pre-program it. No,
I
live in an old people's place, Century Village, right? So there's elevators on Shabbat there.
You have the light and the house program.
Wait. So the elevators, what they do is they have it on a system before Shabbat. There are certain hours that it's going to go all the way, stop on every single floor. So people say you can do that. I sometimes use it as well. But if you go into an elevator and it's not a Shabbat elevator, right? And you're now inside with a non-Jew. So I do cruises. I've done kashrut on cruises. So I'm in elevators with non-Jews, right? So like the people say, what floor are you going to, right? So I'm not allowed to tell them I'm going to the 10th floor because then they'll press the button for me. So what I do is like this. And then if I say, I'm going to whatever floor you're going to, they're going to call the police because that's creepy, right? What floor are you going to? I'm going to your floor, right? No, so what I do is I wait, I let other people go in, and I let them press a button, and hopefully they'll press something close to my floor. So if they press the 7th or the 9th or the 12th floor, so they say to me, what floor? It says, oh, no, it's good, it's already pressed.
Entonces you need to have nest.
No. So I don't go in alone. I wouldn't go in alone, right? So what happens is like this, that I get off at the 12th floor and go down 2 floors. I get up to 7th, I walk up 2 or 3 floors. You're not allowed to tell a non-Jew to press the button. Yes?
Can you walk stairs on Shabbat?
Yes, you can walk stairs on Shabbat, 100%. Right? But not too many because you don't want to get too tired, right? Etc. You have to, right, you go on Shabbat. Also, let's say anything...
what if it gets broken, meanwhile you were there?
Oh, that's how it is. So I was in the elevator this Shabbat, and the elevator in our building has broken a few times this past year, and I'm thinking to myself, it was 12 o'clock Shabbat, I'm in the elevator alone, and it goes all the way up to the 4th floor, and then it has to go down, and then I'm thinking, what if it got stuck? I wouldn't have a phone, I wouldn't have anything. Would I be allowed to press the button with the alarm? So I was thinking that this Shabbat. And then I was getting nervous because I'm a little claustrophobic, right? Like, imagine being in this room, in this small elevator. So I would not be allowed to press the button because my life would not be threatened. After 6 or 8 hours, maybe I would be allowed, but I would, I'd have to bang and make noise, whatever it might be, etc. Okay, so the laws related to non-Jews and doing work for you and all that are quite difficult. In this class, we're not going to go into all the details. I just wanted to tell you the parameters, right? I'll give you an example. I'm not allowed to get paid for reading the Torah on Shabbat. Why? Because I'm getting paid for work on Shabbat, okay? So what do? I've like 12 years of my life, I was the Baal Koreh, right? Do you have an idea?
How he get paid?
When should I get paid? What's your first name? Jacob, Yaakov, right? When should one get paid? You can't get paid on Shabbat. You should get paid before or after. But I'm working on Shabbat. So what happens is like this, is that the reason why it's permissible, because I have to prepare for the Torah reading, right, before Shabbat, when it's not. So therefore they're paying me for what? for before, with the work before Shabbat. I'm getting paid by my Bet Knesset to lead, be the Shliach Tzibur, to lead the services for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. It's all on the holiday. I'm getting paid. Good money, Baruch Hashem. So what happens is, I told them in the contract, you have to include that I'm also obligated to daven slichot at least once. Why? Slichot are prayers we say Motzoi Shabbat during the week, not on Shabbat or Yom Tov, and therefore they're really paying me a few $1,000s for the one tefillah, one prayer that I'm doing during the week, which is fine, right? Because I'm not allowed to get paid for my Shabbat activity in Shabbat. You're not, even if it's a kosher, like the Rabbi mentioned, reading the Torah is it's a mitzvah, right? But I wouldn't be allowed to get paid for that for Shabbat. Same thing also, let's say with the worker who's coming to be your waiter or something of that nature. So maybe there should be an activity that you can, and this again, I'm not telling you specifics again, the activity that they can do on your behalf. They come after Shabbat and help clean up. Or they leave some things there and then they bring some. So you're paying them for that work that is after Shabbat. Even though you know that work was a 1 hour, right? So really they should make $10 or $15 an hour. But they worked 6 hours on Shabbat, you're going to pay them $100. You can pay them the $100 technically for the work they do after Shabbat. I just came to give you some of the ideas that it's sometimes a little bit of a question. But again, the most important thing you should know, if you go to a store or something, you want somebody to fix something, do work for you on Shabbat. If you own a business, a friend of mine has an online business, he has customer service people, right? So he has them working in different time zones, because when is it Shabbat, where he is? He's in Minnesota actually. So he has people working, let's say, in India or other places. It's not Shabbat for him in those hours, and therefore they're allowed to answer the phone, they're allowed to be, customer service when people call for help, even though it's not.
The woman forget to close the gas.
Yes. So what do you do?
Children
What do you do? Yes.
What are you doing?
Did I tell you the story? Rosh Hashanah, I moved into a house in my synagogue in Tamarack in 1992, and it was the first day we moved in Erev Rosh Hashanah. It was great. So the light was on in the oven. So I opened up the oven, the light went on. I'm not allowed to close the oven. So what did I have to do? I had to call my neighbor and tell him, I'm not allowed to tell him, please turn the oven down or turn the light off. I told him, listen, I'm not allowed to do certain things on Shabbat, and I'm a new neighbor, so he doesn't know that, in Minnesota, I lived there for 7-8 years, the non-Jewish neighbor, he was the only non-Jew on the whole block. He already knew when he saw one of us walking up to on Saturday night, Friday, he knew he had to get his shoes to come out because he knew he had to help somebody with something. This neighbor didn't know anything, so I said to him, I'm not allowed to do this and this. Can you help me? I didn't tell him what to do directly. I said, I need help. And he understood that meant to turn it off or the light, whatever it might be. Or you invite them in the house and you say, it's freezing in here. It's cold because the heat wasn't on. It's not in Florida, right? It's freezing in here, and I don't know what to do about it. So the guy is going to think, I'm not allowed to say, please make it warmer, but then he knows, he might think I'm an idiot.
You're working like in politics.
It's a remez, right? Yes. Why? So why is that mutar? It sounds a joke, right? Hashem says don't do it, and then now we figure out a way to do it. No.
But the
halakha... No, the halakha says like this, right? Just very clear. I'll let you talk in a minute because I want people to hear this. The halakha says that if you can use a non-Jew to do whatever you want to do, ain't ze Shabbat, it's not Shabbat. Shabbat is why? To relieve you of all the pressure. The reason why you're not allowed to do things on Shabbat is so you could focus on Hashem, on your family, on yourself. Think about who you are, not doing all the different things. So therefore, if everything that you do during the week now could be done by your non-Jewish friend or neighbor, so it's not really Shabbat. So therefore, the Rabbanan, the Chachamim said, the Torah says also it's Asur, you shouldn't have him do all things. But what does it mean? Why can I do it with a roundabout? Madua? Because that way I'm still remembering, it's still Shabbat, right? I know that I have to be careful about what I do for Shabbat, who I ask, and therefore I still have a remembrance it is Shabbat, even though I have him help me with the activity. You had a comment? You had a question? Yes, go.
The reprogramming of the TV. I'm sorry, I have a lot of questions.
Right, programming of the TV.
Yeah.
So meaning you...
It's allowed?
No. No.
Oh.
There was only certain times where we actually were told to leave the radio on or the TV on when there's like certain danger, like during wartime, because you wanted to hear. You're not allowed to turn it on, but you want to hear what's going on, maybe, right? Or during hurricane season, it's not mutar, it's not permissible. You'd have to ask for a certain time, but it's not allowed to leave the TV on or program the TV, right? The truth is, we program our lights sometimes, right? That they should go on or go off.
Yeah.
The lights are an exception, because when people see, things go on and off in your house, they know that there's such a thing as a timer and all that. When they, let's say, am I allowed to make fresh brewed coffee on Shabbat if I program it the day before? The answer is no. Why? Because any machinery, when it starts working, but I didn't turn it on now, I turned it on Friday afternoon, it should be completely mutar, it should be permissible. You're right, but the answer is no. Anything that's a machine that people might hear, they might think that you turned it on Shabbat, and they might think you are transgressing Shabbat, or they might think it's permissible, right? Fresh coffee is something mutar on Shabbat, and therefore it might be permissible. Therefore, there's certain things you're not allowed to do, programming the things on Shabbat.
And you programming the Shabbat clock?
So Moshe Feinstein writes that the Shabbat clock also should be a problem, but since like the 1950s already, 1960s, it was well known that if you see in a house, a Jewish house, the lights go on, people knew that there was such a thing as a timer, and that now it's actually in the wall, but it used to plug in the timer lamps, and therefore it was well known. It's very different. It also doesn't make noise. That's why here's like this, a non-Jewish worker in your house cleaning your dishes. So they're going to have to clean your dishes. So they can do it Motzoi Shabbat when it's permissible, scrub and everything else, hot water. Turning on the hot water faucet is not allowed on Shabbat because you are boiling and cooking water. But they're allowed to do that because they could, instead of doing it Motzoi Shabbat, Saturday night, they do it on Shabbat. So therefore they can do it any way they want. But they're not allowed to use the dishwasher. Why? Because the dishwasher is in the middle of your house. Even though it's just pressing a button, what's the difference? They're allowed to the same washing. The answer is because it makes noise. The Gemara says it's a machine that makes noise inside your house. That would not be permissible. When I go to a hotel, this week I'm going to a hotel to Kasha for Pesach. So the hotel has these big dishwashers. The non-Jews are allowed to use them. Why? Because they're not in the dining area. They're in the back, they're in the kitchen, so people don't hear it. But anything inside your house that makes noise, the Gemara says, like any machinery, it would be forbidden to even program it before Shabbat, or even for a non-Jew to go ahead and do that. Okay, anybody have any other questions on this topic? Yes, young man, Yaakov.
How do you turn? What?
You want to say it Bivrit? You speak Hebrew or English? No. How do you do what? How do you turn on? Usually on Shabbat we turn nothing.
The lights, but you're not allowed to turn on the lights.
So you put them on before Shabbat. It's a very good question. You make sure they're on before Shabbat. What happens in the synagogue, in the Beit Knesset? The lights are off and it's dark. And you come Shabbat morning, what are we going to do? We can't daven. So tefillah, prayer, is not a Torah commandment, right? Shabbat is a Torah commandment. Now, turning on electricity, there's a machlokes, an argument whether it's a Torah commandment or not. So what do you do? So if there's a need for the tzibur, the rabbin, for the majority of people, you go and ask a non-Jew and say, listen, please, we don't have any lights in the synagogue. And the guy hopefully will figure out that he has to come and he turns the light on. But whenever a non-Jew does something like that, he has to benefit. What does that mean? He has to also be able to get some. If he walks in and he doesn't come into the room and he just turns the lights on from the outside, that's not good. He has to come in and at least for 2 seconds be able to have the light. Or he comes into your house and he turns the heat on. You have to wait till the heater starts or the air conditioner starts, depending where you are, and he should also benefit from that as well.
Then you cannot change on Shabbat the temperature of the
the
AC.
Right, etc. So on and
I
so
just think
forth.
that one time I heard that in the synagogue example, if they don't have air conditioner, everybody's suffering, then you can bring a guy to
Yes, for the air conditioner as well, especially in a warm climate like this. So I had a Beit Knesset in Tamarack, Florida. Wonderful, wonderful people. I think 1 out of the 100 members there are still alive, because it was 30 years ago, and everybody was 75 to 105. So there's one lady still alive, 95. They should all be well in other members, but anyway, not all of them were of Shabbat observant. Most of them were not Shabbat observant, but they wanted to be members of an Orthodox synagogue. Wonderful, sweet people. So one Shabbat we had a bar mitzvah, which was rare that we had a bar mitzvah because somebody's grandson wanted to have a bar mitzvah there, probably because it was cheaper in our shul, so they came, right? So it was hot, right? So somebody turned on the fans, right? On Shabbat, somebody went in the back, turned on the fans. We didn't have a Shabbat janitor or guy, so I didn't say anything, right? But then they had turned it on, it was too fast, right? So somebody went back and turned it off, turned it lower, right? So then I said to myself, I can't let this go. So I stopped the davening and I said, on Shabbat, we are not allowed to turn fans on and off. I don't know who did it, and I'm not accusing anyone. I don't want to know who did it. I just want you to know no one should touch any of the dials anymore. They did something wrong, right? Because what we should have gone is gone next door and get a non-Jew to come and turn it on, and that would be mutar. Even the fans. Why? Because a room of 100 people, also older people, right? It would be, even for comfort, that would be permissible. Just like the lights. Okay, so let's say it's dark in here. So I could read maybe like this with very little light. But you need what? For the community allowed to do that, but a non-Jew would be the one that would go ahead and do that.
5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes? Okay. So I want to start now just the laws of Hadlakat Nerot, lighting of candles. Now everybody says, Rabbi, what do you have to teach about lighting candles? Everybody knows. You take candles, you light a match, okay, the bracha, you have to say a blessing, but there's a lot of different related laws to that, and it especially applies to you because women are the one who light candles. Why do you think women are the ones who were assigned to light candles? Think about it for a minute.
Because girls have dresses.
Girls have dresses, nothing to do with lighting though. But interesting is like this. When the first woman, her name was what? Her name was Chava. Chava got her husband to eat from that tree of knowledge, from the Eitz HaDas. I found out, and I'll put that aside for now. So what happened because they ate from the Eitz HaDas? What was the result? Anybody know? Hashem said, you're out of the Gan Eden, but also another thing happened. They all died. Meaning not right away, but they would die. Because what would happen? If Adam and Chava would have gone into Shabbat without eating from the tree, it would have transitioned the whole world into what we call the time of the future, Olam Haba, and there wouldn't have been any death. Now that Adam and Chava ate, so since they sinned, what entered into their body and into their neshama, their soul, was like a stain or a problem, and that had to be cleansed, had to be cleaned, and that can only be done after the body and the soul are separated, which we call death, and then the soul, I give a whole shiur on this for an hour or so about the soul gets cleansed and then cleanses the body, and a reunification, we call that Tchiyat HaMeitim, or resurrection of the dead. But what occurred? That death occurred because they ate from the tree. Who caused them to eat from the tree? The Nachash, the snake, and Chava caused her husband to eat from the tree. And what did she say? I don't want to eat from the tree and die myself, and I'll leave my husband alone. They'll find some other woman, right? The fact is, he gave him to eat, and they ended up eventually 1,000 years later they died. Okay, she brought death to the world. So when we say somebody dies, the neshama separates, the soul separates from the body. The neshama is likened to what? To a candle. Kiner Hashem, the candle of God. Nishmat Adam is the soul of a human being. Therefore, each every human being, not even just Jews, every human being has a soul within them that gives them life, and that soul is like the candle from God. So since Chava was the one who extinguished, who put out the candle in a sense, because caused them all to die because of eating from the tree, therefore she was given the mitzvah on Friday afternoon to light, and Yom Tov as well, to light the candles, to bring light into the world, because the candle is considered Ner Hashem Nishmat Adam. Okay?
גם בראש חודש,
You'll ask me 1 minute. Yes.
גם בראש חודש מדליקים נר.
Hayom? Lo kulam. Do I tell you, do you know why? Why do people light
זה
a
מצווה
candle?
גם כן.
I know we light a candle for
They
light for yard side. Yard side means what? When somebody passes away.
בראש חודש לא?
זה יש מנהג.
אנחנו ספרדים.
Okay, I was doing so. So תשאל הרב ספרדי. I don't know. If you find out, let me know. it's always good. Lighting a candle is always about Motzoi Shabbat. People light also from Lava Malka. We light often because it's bringing more. It's like saying more of Hashem. Hashem's light is in the world. But anyway, that's the reason why the mitzvah was given to women on Friday. But let's say when I'm next Shabbat, I'm going to be in Mexico, working at a hotel, preparing for Yom Tov. My wife will be home here in Deerfield. She's going to join me next week. Friday night, I have to light candles before Shabbat. Why? Because it is a chiyuv, an obligation on anybody to light candles. If I'm married, if I was single, I'd have to do it anyway. I'm married, my wife does it in the home. But even though she's going to do it here, I have to do it there because there's a chiyuv, an obligation to light candles every Friday afternoon before Shabbat. And what's the reason for it? We said why the women are given the mitzvah. But if let's say a woman is not there, it's a mitzvah for the man to do it, anyone to do it. Because why do we have to light candles? We have to light candles because we need to have light in our house on Shabbat. Now we have electricity, but in the old days, it was dark. So the key thing for lighting candles, right, is called Shalom Bayit. Why? If you can't see where you're going, you're going to bump into people, fall over things, and then you'll yell at your son or your wife or your husband for why'd you leave this on the floor? Why is this here? Or you won't be able to see what you're eating. There won't be really a way to have a proper Shabbat meal. That's why we light candles Friday before Shabbat. We actually put it on the table or close to the table where we eat, right? And then we'll talk in the next time about what happens if you're in your house, you're sleeping in your house, but you're going to go eat somewhere else. Do you light the candles in your house, or do you light the candles where you go before Shabbat, where you're going to eat? We'll talk about all of that. But the key reason is Shalom Bayit, and have or in your house on Shabbat.
Do it.
And also, if women don't do it, then the man is obligated to do it.
If somebody invite me for Shabbat,
Yes. You sleep at home, but you eat there.
Yes.
We'll talk about that later. You really should light where you're going to eat.
I can leave the candle in my house.
You cannot.
No?
No, you can't. But really you're supposed to light where you eat. We'll talk in more detail next time. But really you're supposed to light where you eat, right? And then have even electrical lights on in your house so you'll be able to see where you're going, which is what we usually do.
Now I understand.
Right?
So I used to go in Barbados to Chabad.
Right.
And she always was pushing me to come to light the candles.
Before Shabbat.
Yeah, by her, but I was never.
Where you would eat Friday night there, right?
Yeah.
Well, also she wanted to maybe teach you about it and do it together with everyone, but that is also the halakha and the rule. We'll talk about that more when we continue. Jacob, you have a question about candle lighting? Yes.
But why do we light candles even if it's a light?
Even if you have lights. So see? Why is it not good enough to have just the lights here? Because the candle, as we said, represents our neshama. You know what a neshama is? Our soul. So it's also a good thing on Friday afternoon to light a candle. It's like bringing more of, it's not just a physical light, because I have the light from here, right? It's the light of Hashem through the candle. But it's more spiritual than physical. Fabulous, fabulous question. Again, you're doing it for Shalom Bayit. You're doing it not just because to have light in the house, but also to bring more of the light of Hashem in our home. Okay?
Just remember that